So, who here has a cell phone? Who knows how to turn it off? Nobody? Come on. You must know how to turn it off, right? If you can at least silence it, not message. I wanted to talk a little bit. Oh, I can make this really loud. So if you don't stay awake, I can just get real close. I wanted to make this kind of fun because I'm a fun guy kind of guy. And the thing that I would like to get across to you today is the 5. Now, my 5 is probably different than your 5. But in entrepreneurship, the thing that we have to look at as an individual is what's going to drive you to do it. What's going to get you up in the middle of the night and write something down that you just remembered you had to do? What's going to, when everybody else, including your parents, tell you you're never going to make it, is going to drive you to make it happen? So that would be passion. Passion. Having a love of something that you desire to do. Now, I started out in the wood business selling firewood, and my family wasn't wealthy, and so at 15 I pretty much bought my own clothes. My parents gave me money for food for going to lunch and $5 towards gas. You know, that's back when gas was less than 30 cents a gallon. So I was high on the hog, but if I wanted to have any extra money, I had to go and make it myself. And so I had started at 13 cutting wood for our house so we could stay warm. Well, to make the story a little shorter, I was active in Boy Scouts. At 13, I became an Eagle Scout. And at 15 and a half, there was a World Jamboree in Japan. And a gentleman that was a member of the church came to me about 8 months before it and said, "Would you like to go?" And I said, "I can't afford to go," so I kind of put it out of my mind. He says, "That's not what I asked." And at that point, he became my mentor. He was an FBI agent, and he had quite a way of persuading people to help him. And so I was able to go to this World Jamboree. I needed a little extra money, so the service organization that was sponsoring my scout troop gave me some money, and I went to the Boy Scout Jamboree. And because I was one of the last ones, I ended up coming to Hawaii. And the group that I went with, the troop, was Hawaii, except for 4 of us from the mainland. And I got to go to Camp Pupukea and visit it for an afternoon in the pouring rain, not knowing that I'd ever go back there again, but I did last year. But that's later on in the story. So I thought what I would do is tell you a little bit about my business background, because I came home from my trip to Japan with the Flying Hawaiians, as I called them, because they took me everywhere. A couple of guys spoke Japanese, so we were able to tour, and it was a wonderful time. And I came back, and 2 weeks after I got back, I got a phone call from the service club, and they said, "By the way, you owe us $312. I thought they gave it to me, but they said that they just loaned it to me. And I had to come up with $312 with the minimum wage being $1.65. You can figure it out because you're college students how long I'd have to work to make that happen. So I talked with my dad, and my dad says, "Well, you can go cut wood." So that's what I did. Up until the time I left on my mission, I cut wood and got pretty proficient at it. Just before I left on my mission, I had that year cut 200 cords, not all by myself, but I did deliver all 200 cords of it. So it was a lot of work. But what I learned was that I liked working for myself. Now, I had a job at a florist delivering flowers, and that was pretty cool for part of my senior year at high school, but flowers were a lot lighter than wood. So I continued on my process with going through selling firewood. I worked in Auburn, California, where we live. There's a dam that's never been built. It kind of looks like it's there, but it's not there. And so when I was first out of high school, I helped clear everything within 4 inches of the ground. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, well, you know, there's got to be an easier way to make a living. But I was trying to raise money to go on a mission. So when I got done with that project, I went back into selling firewood, and that's when I spent that year after high school getting enough money to go on a mission. So I went on a mission to British Columbia. I came back home and thought, you know, I learned how to learn. Anybody here learn how to learn? Nobody? Uh-oh. That's why you're here. You're here to learn how to learn. Now, I learned on my mission. I had a companion who taught me how to learn, and it was really great. And so when I came home, I didn't want to be a woodcutter, but that's all I knew. I hadn't set any goals. Oh, there's another key word, goals. I hadn't set any goals as to what I wanted to do after a mission. Everything had been set up to go on a mission. I went on a mission, I came home, and you know, the chainsaw was still there, hadn't gone away. And I went up and I cut a cord of wood so I could have some money for gas, and I went out and looked for a job. And I found a job, and my patriarchal blessing said that I would receive training in the line of work that I was supposed to go into, and I thought, wonder what that really means. Is this a job I'm going to have for the rest of my life? And I had struggled with that for a while. And then I met my partner in life. I got a job at a radio station. I drove a cool car, but she never got to going into it until after we were engaged, I think, because I had it broken. So she got to ride around in my little Volkswagen. So we had big visions of what we could do, and I worked at the radio station making $500 a month, and it was really great. Oh, I sold advertising. That's what I did. For 4 years I did this, and what I did is I went around to businesses, and I would do a marketing survey. And you know, most of the businesses in our small community had no clue what an advertising budget was, yet a marketing plan. And I was blown away. They just threw money at the newspaper and the other newspaper, and I'd say, hey, what about me? Well, you're an intangible, I can't buy you. And so I had some successes with that, had a car dealership that I was trying to get to try advertising. And they said, well, we'll give you a little bit here. This is what we want to do. Well, they went, and I really don't like using statistics because this sounds, I doubled their sales. Not me, but the radio station from its advertising, doubled their sales. Well, what had happened was they were selling between 40 and 50 cars a month. And I came along and said, well, you know, radio works. And they said, radio works? No, it doesn't. I go, just try it. I said, give me one day what you spend in the paper one day. Oh no, we want to spread that out over a week. I said, just try it. Well, within 3 months, their sales doubled. They were selling close to 100 cars. And I'm still friends with that sales manager because he had a dream. And that's when this comes out. He had under his blotter what he wanted to do. Now we're talking 30 years ago. You know, these haven't changed hardly at all. But we have all kinds of other great things out there. And on this pad he had a list of things that he wanted to do as an entrepreneur. But he was stuck in his job. And I said, well, gee, you should follow your dream. He goes, I only got 20 years to work. Well, his 20 years came and gone. He did what he wanted to do. He had a rental car business, and he had a car sales business. And he was successful. Now, for me, the radio station taught me. And about 6 months before I left the radio station, a gentleman came in who I had known as a member of the church, and I admired his business ethics. And he came into the radio station because at that time he had a restaurant. And he said to me, "So you work here?" I go, "Yeah, I work here." He goes, "Do you like working here?" I go, "Yes, I like working here. It's fun. I enjoy it." "Do you make enough money?" I go, "No." "You should quit." Well, I had a wife and kids. I couldn't quit. What was I to do? Well, this stuck in my mind till today. I remember that him coming in and saying, "You should quit." So I got out my pad and I wrote down on one side the things I like to do. So, things I like to do. I like to tinker on cars. I like to help people. And I like driving. And I put that down because I'd also put down about, there was a wood stove business that was for sale, and I thought, well, I could do that because I already know how to cut wood. But I didn't want to do selling wood and have a wood yard and sell wood stoves. And I'm glad I did, because in California it's almost impossible to have a wood stove. And so I made this list, and while working at the radio station, I got to be good friends with the person who ran the bus depot, who then became the local cab company because of default. He just like, "Oh, well, here, I don't want to do it, you do it." "No, I don't want to do it, you do it." "Oh, well, okay, I'll do it if you give me yours." And so what happened was he became the cab company, and then the city came along and said, "Hey, you got to go 24 hours. And so he was crying on my shoulder about it, and I said, "Well, gee, you know, I could use some extra bucks." So 6 weeks later, I was the owner of the taxi cab. Now, it's really neat to be able to tell people, "Well, what do you do for a living?" "Oh, I drive a cab." Okay, while I was at the radio station, because I really like music, I became a mobile DJ. And I did that to support my hobby of being the cab owner. Did anybody catch that? My hobby was the business that I had gotten into, because it really didn't make a lot of money. Matter of fact, on Monday, I did in one day what it did in a month. So the opportunity to make money, though, I thought was there because it fit the criteria of things that I like to do. And the other thing is that while I have the ability to drive 24 hours a day, I had to have other people help me. And so back then we didn't have great things like cell phones. We had to use call forwarding, and technology has come a whole long ways from what call forwarding, you know what call forwarding is, right? You take a phone and you dial in a number and it forwards to some other person's house. Well, before that came about, or you could take your cell phone right now and you could call forward it to some other person, or to your home, or to your office. Back then they didn't have that. They had to put in an extension. So if I hired a driver to drive for me at night, they had to do that. Now, the reason why I tell you that is technology is really great. I mean, I'm sure some of you got tablets, or iPads, or smartphones. They're all great things, but they don't help you as much as a pad. And I'll explain that to you. You can have a big pad too. So when you pick up your phone, there's all kinds of things that can distract you. Whether it's checking your email or the message from the last person or what's new on Facebook. If you're trying to be creative as an entrepreneur, you need to have undistracted time to grow your business. My undistracted time is early in the morning. I have a son that's 17, he goes to seminary, and sometimes I go with him. And he'll drop me off at my office, and it's 45 minutes before anybody else shows up there, and that gives me an opportunity to work on things that I don't have time to during the day. So when you get up first thing in the morning, if you have a little yellow pad or a big yellow pad, you can write things down. When I was in grade school, in order to learn my words for the spelling test, we'd write them down. And the reason why I wrote them down was so that I could remember them. When we write things down, not just text it or type it out, it makes an impression in our mind. Now, I want to continue on with the progress. I've gone from woodcutter to radio guy. I'm now in the cab business, and on the weekends, on Saturdays, I'm a disc jockey. And I disc jockeyed for 15 years up till 1992. So I was there from the disco to rock and roll. And I played almost every weekend. And the only way that I could take time off, and here's another key for you, the only way that I could take time off is if I scheduled it. If I wanted to do something with my family on a weekend, I had to schedule it months in advance, because when you're playing for somebody's wedding, they book you in advance. And all of a sudden something comes up and you want to go do it, and you go, oh, I've got a wedding. So we had to plan our family activities around that. Now, I did the DJ thing to support the cab company, but then the cab company started to grow. Instead of having just one cab and one that was broke down for me to take care of, I had 3 cars, and I had a couple of drivers, and all of a sudden we started growing our business. Because as an entrepreneur, you want to grow your business, because that is your success. That's what people see. My success is the 5. Janet, Christina, Melissa, Alexander, and Nicholas. That's my success. That's my passion. That's what made me grow my business. That's what made me who I am. Because I did it because I had a love for them. It's a lot different than saying, oh, I have a $300 bill I have to pay, how am I going to do it? And I go out there by the sweat of my brow and cut a whole bunch of firewood so that I can repay that debt. That's different. So when you're looking at a business, you want to look at what it's going to do to help you drive your passion for whatever that passion is. Now, as we grew our business, we're in a community of about 15,000 people, probably 30,000 in the surrounding area. And we took our business that was doing something like $1,750 a month to over $1 million. Sounds real impressive. We had 40 plus employees. We had 22 vehicles. And how did we do this in a small town? Well, we would find little niches. And that's how we grew our business. The school district called up and said, can you take this person? And we said, sure. Got any more? And pretty soon, we were moving all the special ed children for the school district. And then there was this great big, world's largest auto mall that needed to get their people to and from the service base. 3,000 people a month we were moving for them. You know, that was something, had I done it before? No, I hadn't, but I knew I could. Determination. Determination. We are going to do that. And that we would be me and my partner. My partner, my wife. She has been the one who helped me see through each of the disasters that happened and each of those successes we had. We had a trolley service in our community for 3 years. We had a limousine service for 17 years. And some 12 plus years ago, we decided we needed to get smaller, not bigger. Now, as an entrepreneur, I had a hard time wrapping my head around that. Now, my wife thought, oh, good, we're going to get smaller, we won't have as much to do. Well, we had quite a bit to do, because we sold off the limousine service. Oh, and in the meantime, for 12 years during that period, we had a call center answering service where we took incoming calls, and that employed 12 plus people. And when it went away, it was a happy day. And the reason I say that is because even though you can build something, you have to have an exit strategy. If you build it and you're not giving it to your kids, then you need to have an exit strategy. So from the moment you start a business, you should have an exit strategy. So now for the last 10 or 11 years, we focused on the things that we like to do. Do we make a lot of money? No. Are we successful? What is my success? My success is my family. Yes, we are successful. But that success that we have came from choices. And we made choices, and we're still making choices. And we want to have the ability to do what will help us to be close to our family, which is spread out. You know, it's great coming to Hawaii to visit our daughter. It's not great going to Rexburg at this time of the year, so this was our choice. Because our other daughter lives there, and our 2 sons live in our community. Now, I found as I did a history of our business that we do, that every 2 years or so, I make a change. Because I did a lot of different things over those years, it was always something new to me. It was something that was exciting to me, not necessarily to my wife, but it was excitement to me. So, as we sold off the limousine service and downsized and closed up shop in different other communities that we were in around our area, we focused on what we like to do, being a service to people. Well, the taxi service which we started with has always been there. It's kind of like a lost leader, you know, it's the 99-cent loaf of bread that, you know, they're not making any money on. That's our taxi service. It's a service to the community, but it's not really profitable. So we work on transportation of elderly and handicapped because we like being a service. Now, we do that and the cab service, and we take people on the odd occasion to the airport, which is 45 miles away. And that's what we do. But we can go home at night, and I can go early if I want. I run away for 2 weeks to Hawaii. Oh, that's another thing. that I wanted to bring up. I worked, and I worked hard. Some people said I had romantic jobs because, well, I was a DJ and I was a limo driver. But that is not what made me who I am. So it was always funny to me that I was the local hack, the cab driver in town, and people wouldn't hardly give me the time of day, but 2 days after they saw that I had a limousine, they wanted to be my best friend. So you need to watch how you choose who you do business with. Now, there are lots of different ways to get mentors. The mentor who came to me, who said, "You should quit," I talked to a few years ago, and he says, "I got one word for you. Starts with an R. Retire." Okay, how do you do that? So I'm still working on how to do that, but I'm working on it. So, when we're burning more daylight than there is day, and we haven't taken a time for a break, you need to take a break. Now, I'm not going to say that these are quotes from people because I don't remember who their names are, because I don't do good with that. I have this disease called sometimers. Sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't. So, pull my thought back here. The thing that we need to do is take time off. And the reason why we need to take time off is to recharge a battery. Now, I heard this, I read it or heard it just recently, that, those people that work as Olympic champions, great Olympians, they work really hard. They work out every day, sometimes 5-6 hours a day, sometimes even more. And it isn't because they have a genetic situation that made them who they are. They had a determination to become what they want to be. But the reason why they became what they wanted to be was because they had a goal. And so because they had this goal to become that, they also have to rest. So when somebody works out, they also have to rest. Now, we were married several years, I don't remember how many, that's sometimers thing again, before we really took a real vacation with our family. So I'll let you know now, whether you have a significant other or not, that as an entrepreneur, or as a business major, or whatever else it is that you're doing, you need to take time for yourself. Now, I realize you've got the beach just a half mile away and you can always take time for yourself here, but you're not always going to be here. So I want you to understand that one of the things that I learned was that you need to take a break. You need to find something that will help you to be able to shut down. Now, I may be preaching to the choir, but the person who needs this the most is probably me. But I am here for 2 weeks. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, my life, it just couldn't happen that way. And I had a gentleman that I knew who ran several Marie Callender stores. And we were talking at a camp out one time. I think it was a father and son camp out. And he said to me, he goes, so what do you do? And so I told him what I did, and he told me what he did, and I said, wait, how can you run so many stores? He goes, the secret. Now listen, this is an important part. We're awake back there, right? Okay. And so what I want you to hear is this. I am really anal about everything being done 100%. Not. I was, but you know, if I can delegate to somebody, whether it's an employee or a partner, things that I don't do very well, then that gives me more time. And so if my business can run at 94, 90, 89, 95% good all the time, without me being there, would I be okay with that? And so that's what he shared with me, is I have all these Marie Calendar stores, and the only way that I can successfully run them is I let other people make decisions, and I have to live with that. And if I'm able to do that, then I can have time for myself. And at that point, I wasn't really taking time for my family as much as I should. So we need to understand that when we delegate something to someone else, that takes some of the pressure off of you, and thus less stress. Now, the other day I remembered something, and I had my wife write it down for me. And this is to help you when you're working with other people. It's the 3 to 1. 3 to 1. 3 to 1 is this. If I have to bring one of my employees in to talk to about something negative, before I can do that, I have to think of 3 positive things to tell them. And if I think of the 3 positive things and it outweighs the 1 negative thing, then I usually don't have that discussion, because I'm letting them think on their own. Of course, most of the people that work for me have already had other careers. They do this because they like what they do, because I let them be their own person. I give them a structure and I let them carry it out. So when we are growing a business and we have others helping us, praise is always a great thing. Now, you're here at school. If you were to use that same 3 to 1 with the people around you, I think you would find a difference. And another thing is, I know that you guys have access to doing email and messaging. If you would, for the next month, send 1 message a day to someone and tell them thank you. You know, play it forward, you've probably heard that phrase. Play forward some happiness. Because sometimes you don't know who that person is that could use a lift. Now, in the last 2 years, I was born again. And so I got into something new. Last March, I came and I helped my daughter and son-in-law, and they're running a business called Ono Empanadas, although it's on hiatus for 4 months. But it was really fun helping them, giving them ideas, and helping give them challenges to see what could happen. And they took me to a food truck rally, and it was really great. And I thought, wow, I could do that in Auburn. Then I started figuring out the numbers. And so I decided I didn't have a passion for that, because the numbers weren't there to make it so I could be passionate for the dollar that I wanted to make. But A year ago, I bought a truck. Now, this is a big truck. Not like a great big truck, but it's like a mini big truck that can haul big trailers and stuff. And my son lives in our community, he's 28, right? 28? Okay. His name is Alexander. And he's got the entrepreneurial spirit. But he lacks a little passion, and he'll probably hear this, and I'm sorry, Alexander, but he lacks that little bit of passion that he needs to make things happen. At 28, he's already had probably 4 businesses and 5 careers because he's been searching for that one thing that he can throw passion at. Well, I think this truck business is got his passion. Now, I'm in it with him along with my wife, and we have a big trailer that's going to be delivered after we get back, and we'll be hauling stuff all over California and Arizona, and you know, we've got a trip already set up to go to Colorado, and so he's really excited about this, and I'm excited that he's excited about it, because now there's a passion. So I want us to look at what is the passion that we have for whatever it is that we're doing. And one final thing before I wrap up. Can I get a raise of hands of people here who think they want to start a business? Okay. Now, you're here getting an education, and that's really great, because I didn't do that. I went to the University of Hard Knocks, and you never get a degree. It never ends. You continually learn. You need to continually learn. And I want to share something with you. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I just want to share something with you. And I can tell you this came from Robert Kiyosaki. Because I didn't know who he was, and people kept saying, here, you need to read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You need to read this book. And I'm thinking, why? Well, because you're that book. I'm thinking, okay, I want to get out of the rat race. So, he said that finding somebody who has a marketing program that is successful will help you to build your business. And what he was saying is, there are a lot of different ways in which you can learn how to run a business. But there are a lot of successful franchises out there that run businesses. And if you could learn from their franchise, whatever it may be, you can be successful. But you need to continually learn. I have been a multi-level marketing person since I was in the wood business. And I won't list all the different ones that I belong to. And yes, I do belong to one now. The one I belong to now has a back office that gives me $15, $16 million worth of success stories that I can look at any time. It gives me a business plan on how to develop it. And I can grow it as big or as small or as fast or as slow as I want to. But why am I telling you this? Notice I didn't say what it was. I could, but if you're curious, you'll come ask me. I know that R word is coming soon because of it. Now, I have spent 31 years doing transportation. And yes, I could sell my business, and I could sell the building that it's in. But when that money is gone, it's gone. But with this other business, I have residual income that comes every month. And I didn't think it was real. I laughed it off. But now I know it isn't. And I'm sure that you know people who do something that is a multi-level marketing thing. And you may poo-poo it, you may not like it, but I'm telling you, it was the least expensive form of education and the best education for me to grow $1 million business. Who here would like to have $1 million business? Okay. So, I have shoes that squeak when I walk because I'm so tight. If I can save $50, I will, because that's $50 I don't have to earn. I want you to know that having my two daughters go to school here was a wonderful opportunity for me to step outside my box, but also see someone in my family get past a high school graduation, because there hadn't been one. So I have daughters with master's degrees. I'm ecstatic about that, especially because Melissa has one that's an MBA, whatever that stands for. Anybody know? Ah, Master's of Business Administration, is that what it is? Oh, good. She also has a thing on psychology. I think she was trying to evaluate me or something. So, that pretty much concludes what I wanted to cover, is that, one, you have to have a passion. You need to set goals. You need to delegate. You need to take a vacation. And the passion needs to be something that you really, really want. Because when somebody calls me up in the middle of the night and says, I have a flat tire, and I say, go ahead and change it, I don't get mad at them. I let them change it. If they say, well, the car broke down, then that's my responsibility. I go take care of it or call a tow truck. It doesn't hardly ever happen because I don't like getting up in the middle of the night, and I don't have anybody to delegate it to, so preventive maintenance is the key. May you do preventive maintenance on your business opportunity that you have, and I thank you. Now,